What is up, studs, and welcome to Ask MandR episode 364, the series where I answer your questions. On this episode, we're going to be discussing a ton more about the $1,000 Death Star, the new clone turbo tank conspiracy theory, and much more. If you have a question or topic for next episode, drop it down in the comment section below, leave a like while you're there, and let's get into it with our first question from Versano. Says, the pic of it finally leaked, really blurry, but looks different than I thought. And any pictures you have seen of the Death Star leaked to this point on Sunday, August 3rd at 10 p.m. as I'm recording this are fake. They are not real. They're AI generated, or perhaps very well photoshopped, but very likely AI generated. You can see like on a Lego store shelf, really blurry. Like there's no way a picture of that set on a Lego store shelf 2 months early exists. That's just not how that works. Like if it was a back room, it could be potentially somewhat believable. Like the picture of the top of the box that leaked, like that's obviously a real picture of the top of the box, but like that's a believable picture because it's just in a weird spot, like in a hallway maybe, where they were showing it at some event to like maybe some of their tier 3 Illuminati land members or whatever, whoever it was, right? More likely retail partners or something like that, or maybe it's at Lego headquarters and some employee took a picture. Who knows? Like there's a ton of different ways that particular picture could have leaked, but the picture of the actual build for some reason hasn't leaked, just the top of the box with all the figures, which is kind of a shame because I'd rather have the front of the box that actually shows the build because I think that's a lot more interesting than all the figs, which we would also see anyway on the front of the box, or at least most of them. But no leaked pictures yet, but considering we've seen the USS Enterprise and the Black Pearl in the last couple of days, it's got to be any day now because the Enterprise doesn't come out until like Black Friday, and the Death Star comes out October 1st. So not everything is always going to leak in order, of course, but it is, you know, a little promising probably for a leak to be coming soon, that a set that comes out a month and a half later has already leaked. Squishy King says, how certain are you that this Death Star will look like the Funko Pop one? Have you seen it? I just want to be certain before I switch my plan and buy the Venator. I would definitely wait no matter what. Even if I was 110% certain, I would wait until the set gets revealed and then you can make that decision, because I don't think there's a reason to buy the Venator right now anyway. Plus it's on back order. I think when I checked, it was a back order of 60 days, which means you're waiting until October 1st anyway. So you may as well wait until the set is revealed in very early September. But that being said, no, I have not seen the Death Star. It was just described to me by someone who said they had seen it. And I would put, 75, 80% level of certainty in that. That was kind of the general description that I got. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be very similar to the Funko Pop thing. Look, the dimensions leaked for the Death Star, and off the top of my head, it's either 79 or 70 centimeters wide and 70 or 79 centimeters tall. So it's one of those in either direction, and then the depth on it is 27 centimeters or about 10 and a half inches, I think. So we know off the bat that it's not going to be spherical just based on those dimensions, right? Like your depth being this wide while it's this tall tells me right now that it's not going to be anything close to what we have seen with our previous Death Stars. But of course, that information is separate from what I had been told long ago. And so with those quote unquote official, because, nothing's official until LEGO announces it, but those official dimensions having leaked and what I was described to me long ago, I don't think this Death Star is going to be something that maybe you're looking for if you're looking for a big round Death Star. And so maybe the Venator will be the move for you. Anyways, on to our next question from Astro, who says, MandR is going to buy 2 Death Stars so he can connect them. I am calling it. And as I described during the last question, the Death Star, I don't even think will be, I think it's a slice of the Death Star. So the back of it, I don't think is going to be rounded. Through the grapevine, I have heard that it's going to be able to be hung on the wall, which is a cool feature in and of itself. Like the concept of it all, really nice, right? But the back side of it won't be like half a sphere and then half a sphere with the open front, right? It's not like that, apparently, allegedly. Like I said, I haven't seen it. It's just what I've heard. And so I have no intention to buy 2 and smash them together because you wouldn't see any benefit from that. It wouldn't make it any better. You just now wouldn't be able to access the interior on either because the backside of both would be blocked off, and then you just smash the interiors together, I guess. I don't know. Now, of course, if it was rounded and half spherical, I would do that, but I really don't think that's what we're going to be seeing with this set here. So yeah, zero intention to buy multiple of the Death Stars, just going to be buying the one on release day, or of course, certainly if possible earlier. But yeah, I just don't see that happening because it's not going to be the shape of the set. Sounder says, thank you for the meet and greet again. It was great. One question I totally forgot to ask was, why are dual molded legs such a coveted feature on minifigs nowadays? I honestly think think the ones I do see with it have less printed detail on them. So regardless of like what has the printed detail on it, what doesn't, like I don't think when a figure gets dual molded legs, LEGO specifically withholds printing detail. Like I don't think that's generally a thing. So C-3PO has been the example that I've used the most, where you see it in a $240 set and a $100 set and a $6 keychain, all with a dual molded leg. But in the $500 Jabba sail barge and the coming $1,000 Death Star, we're not getting the dual molded leg. Kind of ironic given LEGO's slogan, quote, only the best is good enough.
Did he really say that?
Yet they're not giving their best as sets get more expensive. But in the lesser expensive ones, they do get the better quality. Like, it would stand to reason that as things get more expensive, they should become higher quality. But given LEGO's slogan, as I mentioned, like, they should at least be the same, right? It's kind of crazy.
This is getting out of hand.
Anyway, the other example that came to mind today was that 2019 UCS Star Destroyer $700 set, and that one's Imperial Officer had dual molded legs, but none of the Imperial Officers in our $1,000 Death Star are getting dual molded legs. What? These are a dime a dozen for LEGO to include. It's so easy for them to throw in there, and they don't do it time after time after time. What really grinds my gears when it comes to this is you look at other themes like Harry Potter, Marvel, DC, Spider-Man, of course, coming up very soon here in about a month, and they get CMF lines. Star Wars doesn't get CMFs. So when it comes to like a UCS set or really any version of a figure, especially when you're only getting it one time, like a Galactic Marine, like a Commander Bakar, and you're very unlikely to ever see it again, as we've never seen them in 20 years, you want that version to be perfect. You want it to be as good as a $5 version of any of these other themed CMFs have been, and we just don't get that. For dual molded legs specifically, like going back a few years, there was a point in time where LEGO Star Wars, this is something I'm pretty sure I talked about a few years ago, I think there was less dual molded legs for LEGO Star Wars than there had been for like Harry Potter's 2 CMF series combined there. Literally, Harry Potter and 2 CMF series got treated better than LEGO Star Wars had been for 25 years all combined. Like, crazy when you look at it through that lens. And so, yeah, it's not that dual molded legs have been this thing for a long time that everyone's wanted every figure to ever have dual molded legs, but they certainly would be nice for $1,000. And it's like, yeah, you need to take your product to that next level at $1,000, and LEGO's not doing it. So I don't know if it's necessarily a coveted feature, but it's just one of those things where it's like you've been improving, and you've past that threshold in some cases with some figures, and now we're going backwards as sets become even more expensive, reaching $1,000. So yeah, I think part of it isn't that it's coveted, it's just like, man, you're reaching this price point, it just has to be there. Next from King Roo, he says, biggest discount you think the $1,000 Death Star will ever get to if it flops or about to retire? So I could see this set very likely getting a 20% discount at some point, and on the high end, 30%. It could see 40%. I think the Black Panther saw 40%, but I don't think this set will sell nearly that bad to necessitate a 40% discount. I think we're looking at 20 or 30%, so obviously $800 or down to $700. I also think the earliest we would see that discount would be Black Friday of 2026, and this is the type of set that I think LEGO would hope would be on shelves for a long time, like through the end of the decade probably. They probably want this to be a 5-year set, because I think they sold that 2008 Death Star for 6 or 7 years, the 2016 Death Star I think they sold for 4 or 5 years. So this new $1,000 Death Star is definitely a set they probably want to be on shelves for a long time. But if it doesn't sell particularly well, it could definitely retire within a year and a half. Betrayal at Cloud City is a great example. That was released October 1st of 2018 and retired at the very end of 2019. So theoretically, this Death Star could see a shelf life as short as a year and 2 months. And that's exactly what happened to Cloud City, because it just sold that poorly. I don't know what the original intention for shelf life was. Perhaps it was always planned to be that short. When I went on release day, there were 2 other people there with me. Like, it was not a popular set. And I imagine if I go on release day for this Death Star, there'll be a few more than 2 other people there with me. But yeah, that being said, if this set does see that kind of early retirement, you could definitely expect a nice discount next Black Friday perhaps, but I think more likely this set will be out for a few years at least, and it might be a while until we see a real discount on it, as LEGO will probably try to stick to their guns and basically try to convince people nothing's wrong and that it's selling just fine, even though it's not, you know, just so that it doesn't look bad for them. And Grant Adam Theron, with our last Death Star related question here, says, this set needs to flop very hard. It is in our best interest as consumers. And I definitely agree with this statement. I think about this with a lot of things. The $45 clone battle pack needs to flop. The new clone turbo tank needs to flop. I mean, I think LEGO needs to see that their quality with clone troopers especially is not good enough. Their quality with minifigs and their $1,000 Death Star is not good enough. Perhaps the concept of the $1,000 Death Star is not going to be bad. I don't know. You know, I haven't seen it, like I said, but perhaps that's also something that needs to be addressed, is like taking such a chance on a $1,000 set is kind of insane. insane to make it not a sphere. Also, to keep prices down, you know, if this $1,000 set does well, you betcha we'll see more $1,000 sets. I think if I think back to 2007, we got the $500 UCS Millennium Falcon. We didn't see another $500 set until 2016 for Star Wars with the Death Star re-release. Versus when they did that next Falcon in 2017 at $800, we immediately saw 2 years later another $700 set, and then another 2 years later another $800 set. So if this price point goes well, don't be surprised that more sets at this price point would start to exist in rather short order. If this price point goes poorly, don't be surprised to not see a lot of sets at this price point again until somewhere into the 2030s. I feel like I'm giving a weather forecast. Wow, what the heck.
As we go back to...
Anyway, yeah, it kind of depends on your point of view there. Like, if you want LEGO Star Wars to do more like $1,000 huge crazy sets, like maybe it isn't in your best interest. But I think specifically, like as far as getting better value and better quality, it is in our best interest. So hopefully it does flop from that perspective. Order 60 Bricks says, do you think LEGO should use the Woody legs for Wookiees? No, it is cursed. It looks horrible. It's the H28 Bricks guy on Instagram. I think I got his name right there off the top of my head. He's the one that's been posting some of the great Revenge of the Sith concept sets that are just, oh, they almost trick me every time. They're so beautiful. But what he does for his Wookiees is he gives them the extra long leg pieces. They use them for Woody. They use them for the Avatar figures, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It's the worst thing. So I love everything else about what he's doing, but man, those Woody legs are killing me on those Wookiees. I would it makes a lot of sense, frankly. Like, obviously the Wookiees are usually a bit larger than humans, and it would make sense to scale them that way, but not every minifig needs to perfectly scale to one another. It's okay. And I think the Wookiees are a great example of why it's okay, because they look super awkward with those extra tall legs, at least to me. Maybe you like it, whatever. But yeah, I personally hope they do not do that. Seb Ross says, why do you think LEGO greatly reduced the amount of original trilogy, sequel, and Mandoverse sets with lots of Clone Wars and prequel sets so far this year? Yeah, I think it's just ebbs and flows. You know, you're going to have some years where you're going to have more of something than the other. I do think it is particularly odd to see so little original trilogy, but we say all of that with a $1,000 Death Star on the horizon. You know, we got the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter gingerbread coming up. You got the TIE Fighter GWP with the Death Star. So you got 3 more OT sets right there coming at the end of the year. So without looking at numbers, perhaps anecdotally, there's less original trilogy this year than we're used to, but like, it's also the sort of thing where, you know, LEGO Star Wars is a very diverse fandom. You're going to have people that want a lot of different things, and sometimes LEGO is going to be able to focus more on Clone Wars. And with that Mandalorian movie coming out, we'll start to get a lot more focus on that Mandoverse that you discussed there. And I think they just announced for 2027 that A New Hope will be coming back to theaters, and that's for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. So I don't know why they announced that 2 years early, by the way. It's very odd to me that they announced it so early. But anyway, I think that is going to clearly bring in a lot of new LEGO Star Wars original trilogy sets for 2027. So just kind of like looking at what Disney has announced and what's coming up there, you can kind of figure out what LEGO is probably going to be doing in the future years. And so it makes a lot more sense that they are kind of leaning one way right now, and then the ship is about to rock back the other way, it feels like. So that's the way that I'm looking at that. Orc says, do you think LEGO doesn't include enough minifigs to fill the set so that you will buy battle packs and foil bags? And this is 1,000% a thing. I mean, you can look at sets like the Republic dropship with AT-OT back in 2009 that included 6 clone troopers and then 2 pilots, but I think it had like 16 seats, and just so conveniently they had at the time the $10 Clone Walker battle pack just on shelves, and so you could buy a bunch of those to accompany your $250 Republic dropship and AT-OT, and I think probably for like close to $300 all in, you'd have a filled up ship there, or Walker. And I just think that's 1,000% got to be the case somewhat, because a case like Galactic Marines might not be the same, because they're not going to exist in a battle pack as far as we're aware. They still aren't in a foil pack. I say still. They've been out for 3 days now, 4 days. They, of course, still may come in a foil pack in the next year or so, but I look at it more so in a lot of cases as cost-cutting measures, you know? They have taken something where maybe in the past we've had $50 sets that had 10 minifigs. Now we get $160 turbo tanks that include 5 minifigs without enough figures to fill each of your seats, or as we showed with that Fortnite Battle Bus, like they can and will include enough figures to fill all of the seats in vehicles, as long as it's not something from Star Wars. You know, it's wild to me. So I think there's a couple things going on there with both cost cutting as well as, of course, just trying to get people to buy more add-ons, DLC to their sets, if that is something they had planned to make available already. Next from Freddie says, hey Ryan, have you seen how most stores in the US only have 1 turbo tank on shelves? Do you think LEGO is telling stores to only have 1 on shelves at a time so that they can make parents/family members think this is a good set because there's only 1 left? Not making an accusation, but it is really weird weird that it's always the turbo tank that has one left, while also being called the worst set of the wave. So I don't know if it's necessarily to trick any parents or family members into thinking it's a good set because they only think one is on the shelf, but I do understand the concept of FOMO. And if I walked into the store and I was considering this turbo tank or maybe the Jango Fett Starship and I saw they had 15 Jango Fett Starship Slave 1s and they had one turbo tank, maybe that would push me towards the turbo tank. So I'm like, ooh, I really want to get that. I hope it doesn't sell out, you know? And so maybe that's part of it. I am aware of this turbo tank conspiracy that Target is only putting one on the shelf to trick people into thinking it's popular and make them want to buy it more. And it is a good strategy. It's a good idea. I think it is inadvertent, though. I think most of the stores only got 2 to begin with, just from what I would understand how they would come shipped. They would come in a case. The case would have 2. You'd put the 2 that you got on the shelf, and then someone probably bought 1, and then there's just 1 on the shelf. And then all of a sudden, it looks like every store has 1. Like when I went to my store on release day, they had 2 on the shelf. And so that's what makes me think that 2 is probably the number that most stores got to begin with. I'm sure if some of you guys work at Target, you'd probably be able to confirm this, but that is my suspicion at the end of the day. I don't think it's anything purposeful. I also think like if LEGO was telling every single store to keep 1 on the shelf, some of you guys that work at Target would have whistle blown on that one already. It's one of those conspiracies where it's like, well, you'd need like 8,000 people to keep that same secret that really don't have a super great vested interest in keeping that secret, so it wouldn't be kept a secret. Keep holding strong. If you've been boycotting these new LEGO Star Wars sets, don't give in. They will go on sale at some point. You'll get a better deal. You'll get a better price. Wait for them to be better than 20%, though. I think we could see some nice deep discounts on these come Christmas time if people just aren't buying them. Silent says, what is the most and least minifig scale set? Great question. Definitely the least minifig scale set is the UCS Death Star 2 from 2005. I think the Death Star 2 is kind of the biggest thing in the Star Wars universe, until Starkiller Base, I guess, came along. If they had made something like that, it would be less minifig scale, but the Death Star 2 from 2005 has to be the least minifig scale set. It is so undersized. I found an article from Brickset who did the math on it, and I think a minifig scale Death Star 2 would have to be 3 miles in diameter, which is smaller than I would have guessed off the top of my head, but 3 miles in diameter for a minifig scale Death Star 2. And then when it comes to what is the most minifig scale, I thought the UCS AT-AT would be the answer, and I still, in my heart of hearts, that's kind of my answer. Now, I will put an asterisk on this, and that minifig scale can be measured in different ways due to the shape of minifigs not being like actually human. They are a bit blocky, of course, but some of the closest sets to minifig scale have been the 2010 ARC 170, in which a minifig scale version would need to be 47.98 centimeters in wingspan, and this model is 48 centimeters in wingspan, so 0.02 centimeters from what would be perfect minifig scale. I feel like we can round there and call it perfect. The AAT from 2000, also one that comes quite close, just 0.21 centimeters, quote unquote, too big, but again, that's basically 1-to-1. I don't know why you would call it anything, but the AT-ST is very close as well in 2009's Battle of Endor, kind of depending apparently on which measurement you're using. The AT-AT was a little bit further off than I thought, at least as far as the height of the model goes. The 2016 A-Wing is one that I didn't realize was so close. Like, that's a fantastic set. I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for that one, but yeah, that one's really close to minifig scale, as well as the 2014 B-Wing. That one just like 1.85 centimeters off. And then a couple more for good measure. The 2010 UCS Imperial Shuttle, very close to minifig scale. Like, it was touted, I think, at the time as minifig scale. Like, that was the whole idea. So it's within a very reasonable margin of error there. And then the sail barge a little bit farther off, as minifig scale would need to be about 5 centimeters shorter, but still, like, it's practically perfect for all intents and purposes when it comes to LEGO and its minifig scaleness. So definitely the least minifig scale set would be the Death Star 2, and then the most minifig scale set, according to the math on this, maybe the ARC 170 from 2010, but it really varies depending on how you're measuring the minifig and its scale. Caffeinated Comic Fan says, what do you think of the HasLab gunship? Would you get one to review? Dude, I would love to get one of these. Not to review necessarily, but to compare to LEGO's UCS Republic gunship. I think I'm gonna have to do that. Man, that's gonna be a sick video. I almost feel like I gotta bring back the MandR Collects channel to do that, but I think the video would do a lot better on this channel anyway, so I'll just upload it here and then everyone will see it. You know, the other thing HasLab is doing right here, you can see they have 2 pilots included with their gunship. LEGO couldn't be bothered. They just spat in the face of fans.
One is a clone commander, which also doubles as the pilot of the ship.
Bro,
the other is Mace Windu.
Pause it. What?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What you just said
is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Oh man, it's so crazy to see other companies do it so well. Love that. Good job, HasLab. I don't have many other thoughts on it. I don't even know the price. I don't know if I want to know. I bet it's $500. It's probably very expensive, but I should probably order one so that I get it when it comes out, and that way I can do that video, and then I'll probably sell it because there's no way I'll have space for that and the UCS Lego one. Anyway, next from Gabby. He says, do you think Lego Star Wars sucks because they have a bad manager? Because Lego Fortnite and Lego City have good value and quality. I think when you look at something like this, you could always blame the manager. I always see this happen in sports where like the manager gets fired when the team underperforms, and I almost disagree with it. Like, I can see the rationale, and in some cases it makes a lot of sense. The manager or the coach might just not be rallying the troops the way he needs to be. And with something like Lego Star Wars, like, if there is someone, and I assume there is someone, if it's Jens, it's Jens. I'm not sure if he has that say or if it's someone at Disney or someone higher up at Lego, I don't know. But if there's someone who ultimately is the yes or no on every single thing, it would be their fault. But I also think it's more so the fault of the person who's getting it wrong to begin with. Like, if Jason Tatum's just out there missing shots, it ain't Joe Mazzulla's fault that Jason Tatum is missing shots, right? Like, that's the way that I look at that. And so it's not whoever's in charge of Lego Star Wars' fault that the minifig designer just keeps getting details wrong. Like, that's the minifig designer's job. He's supposed to get all of those details right. But again, I can see the argument that, like, you're the manager, you're given the approval. Why are you approving subpar work to begin with? So yeah, it can go both ways. I don't know if it would get better with a better manager, because ultimately the work needs to be better to begin with in regards to the quality and the like accuracy with certain things. And then there's things that like might not be in like the designer's controls. It might, again, this is like outside of Lego Star Wars, just bigger picture Lego stuff, like the color of stickers, like everything that's bad with that isn't necessarily Lego Star Wars' fault, but it's a bad part of Lego Star Wars. And so obviously that reflects in the reviews, but that's a bigger picture Lego thing that needs to be fixed by whoever is in charge of that whole thing, right? I feel like I branched off into a bunch of different things. I mean, heck, you say value. I mean, the Lego Star Wars designers don't choose the prices on the set. I mean, someone within Lego Star Wars or like in that realm, like the Lego Star Wars like money guy, maybe, if that exists as a thing, like makes the price, but the designers that actually design the set don't make the price. That's a completely different like team and thing, I guess. So yeah. Next from Dr. Soli says, when will you go live again? It's my favorite thing to listen to while I'm doing stuff around the house. Keep killing it, bro. You the goat. Not saying unicorn. Sorry. Okay. All right. So next live stream will probably be this Saturday. I plan to build a couple of crazy sets in one live stream on Saturday. You know, that $1,000 Death Star is coming out. Gotta do a little prep work here. So the plan is for both me and a guest builder to knock out both of these sets in one live stream. So I'll probably build this one because I did build this one back in like 2014 when I got it and had it before. I sold it actually to buy my UCS Falcon in 2017. So yeah, I wanted to build this one even though they're very similar. I just wanted that kind of different experience, I guess. But my plan is on Saturday to live stream building both of these and do it all in one go. So it might end up being like a 12-hour live stream, which is honestly going to kind of suck. But I kind of want that experience again of like a just crazy long Lego Star Wars build stream. So that is the plan. I'm also, I think, live streaming Friday evening on Whatnot, and I'm giving away like, I don't know where they went. I'm giving away like 25 Lego Star Wars minifigs. You'll see them in a video tomorrow, I think. But yeah, a ton more giveaways on Whatnot, so check that out with the link in the description below as well. But yeah, Death Star build stream on YouTube is going to be nuts, right? I'd love to live stream more on YouTube, honestly. Like, it's always a fun time, but it's also just like the time aspect of it. Like, it takes me so much longer to build. Usually when I live stream, it's just not worth it a lot of the time because I need to be getting things done and working on other things at the same time. And sometimes I'm not building the entire set myself, or I'm not building it at all. It just kind of depends on what's going on, but I knew I got to build at least one of these, so probably going to build 2016. Next, from Whaleblazer, he says, when will you run out of questions to answer? LOL. Looks like that has happened right here because this is the last question in my document. I will say I'm quite surprised that every week we still have lots of awesome questions, so I do appreciate that. But yeah, apparently never. It just keeps going, and it's obviously helpful that we also talk about, you know, topical things that keep happening every week with Lego Star Wars, so that's nice. But anyway, if you have a question or topic for next week's episode, drop in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, and you can check out more Lego Star Wars content on the end screen now.